June 29th, Conor versus Chandler. 5 rounds, 170 pounds.
Just when the fans were throwing up any hope that the fight would ever happen, the wait is finally over. At long last, we have the time and place for the long-awaited matchup.
The reigning, defending,
the one, the only.
No one gathers crowds like Conor McGregor.
It's the fight. It is all over.
And no one brings electricity and entertainment to the cage like Michael Chandler.
Oh! Big knockdown for Michael Chandler.
The T-Mobile Arena has immense potential to burn down on June 29th, and everyone involved in MMA is excited to be in the eye of the storm. The sudden decline of his career, back-to-back losses, injury treatment, and 3 years without fighting. Conor McGregor went through mental hell.
I've been kept from my living for almost 3 years now. Understand that. I came through what I came through. I'm sitting on an injury and a loss.
But now, the Mac is back and in the main fight of the evening at UFC 303. When we look at the old glory and his successful climb in the UFC, we can freely conclude that this story is one of a kind. The Notorious has come a long way from being a poor Irishman to a fighter with double championship gold, money, and fame. Conor McGregor did it like no one before him. Many worked for years to reach greatness, but he only needed 2.5 years in promotion. Dustin Poirier, Dennis Siver, Marcus Brimage, and Diego Brandao. These are the names of the heads he collected during his championship conquest. He is the guy who outboxed Max Holloway, neutralized Chad Mendes for the interim title, and when the time finally came to invade the featherweight king,
I own this town. I own Rio de Janeiro. So for him to say he is the king and I am the joker.
Conor wasted no time.
Smiling. Oh! UFC featherweight champion of the world.
His performances in the cage and on the microphone excelled from fight to fight. Even those who hated him were in the front row when the Notorious stepped into the cage. He took the world of martial arts by storm, putting Ireland on the map and attracting many new fans worldwide. Even his failures are great additions to the story. The first UFC loss to Nate Diaz awakened an additional fire in him, and for the first time, we saw a vengeful McGregor who returned to the 5-round war. Hungry Conor was the most dangerous Conor, and after featherweight, a second championship was in his sight. Weight classes were not a problem, and his UFC conquest extended to the lightweight division. Whoever had the title, his head fell next.
Belts off me.
With one of the best title performances, he knocked out Eddie Alvarez from the lightweight throne to become the double champion of the UFC promotion.
Until that, he's done. He's done. It is all over. Conor McGregor is the UFC lightweight champion. He's dead.
He continued to give himself new tasks, shooting for the stars. So in 2017, at the head of the Irish Army, he rode to the enemy's field in the boxing ring against one of the greatest of all time. Again, McGregor delivered a top performance, but fell short against Floyd Mayweather. Conor paid the price due to his lack of experience in boxing, but earned an extraordinary amount of money. It was 2018 when McGregor's UFC reign came to an end. His first lightweight title defense was his decline, and his excessive trash talk was his doom. After getting the worst out of Khabib Nurmagomedov, Conor lost his title and the fight via 4th-round submission, but Khabib was not the only Dagestani Conor had to fight that night. The biggest MMA fight of all time brought chaos at the pre-conference and weigh-ins, and the situation did not calm down even when the fight was over. Only then did it explode. During this downfall, the Notorious suffered a loss of many fans. It seemed he lost his shine. His return to winning ways against Cowboy Cerrone, a year and a half after the bitter defeat, was big but short-lived. Just as people saw him bounce back, things again went sideways. Very quickly, Conor found himself targeted by his former nemesis, Dustin Poirier.
Oh, big left and now a right. Oh, oh my God! Has it knocked down Conor McGregor?
Oh my goodness!
With a first-round knockout over the humble version of Conor, the Diamond evened the score. However, the war was not over yet, and in McGregor's head, it had only just begun. As we know, Conor does not like to remain unavenged, which is why the third fight was scheduled after 5 months. Notorious was back again with sharp threats and a desire to win.
Tomorrow night, I'm gonna make this man pay with his life, and I mean it. You're dead in that octagon tomorrow night.
But revenge could not reach the Diamond, and Conor McGregor failed in the worst possible way with a gruesome injury. It was a wild fight as long as it lasted. Dustin won the trilogy and Conor had to be carried out on a stretcher. Although he spent 3 years away from the cage, Conor was not far from fighting. His mental struggle with rehabilitation and recovery gave him a new opponent. The Notorious was forced to face himself, and in order to return to his best, he had to overcome and rebuild. Even in ruin, he manages to fascinate us. His injury makes his comeback even more exciting, and his next fight will give answers to questions circulating. Will it be the end of Conor McGregor? Or is it the beginning of a new era featuring the greatest comeback in martial arts of all time? Well, one thing is for sure, last time or not, he will once again fill the arena with spectators. While waiting for the official announcement, no one was more patient than Michael Chandler. He sacrificed 19 months of his career while many said it was in vain. As time passed, it seemed less and less realistic, but more than a year later, Dana White made it happen. And Iron Michael is ready to put on a memorable performance in his biggest fight to date. Chandler took a long road before appearing under the lights of the UFC. Bellator's 3-time lightweight champion stepped into the deadly cage of the elite MMA promotion after 26 fights and 10 years of competition. There, he presented himself in the best light, proving to be a bonus machine and ready to compete with the guys at the highest level of the sport. Michael came in storming through tough opponent Dan Hooker, knocking him out in the first round to get Performance of the Night bonus and his declared debut of the year 2021. His first meeting with the microphone showed that Michael means business, calling out big names and ready to take on anyone. He immediately got a chance to capture the vacant lightweight title that was within his reach in the first round against Charles Oliveira. But Doe Bronx, as always, managed to turn the tide and hand Michael his first UFC loss. After handling his loss like a professional, Chandler came in against another elite opponent. There was no rest for the wicked, and his next stop was Justin Gaethje. When the time came, two hothead lightweights brought forth the fight of the year 2021 in a war that lasted 3 rounds. The boys went all out, blood was spilled, punches echoed through the arena, and unfortunately, Chandler lost again. Although he didn't lose because he fought badly, his priority was to entertain the audience. His emotional approach to fighting brought up many questions about his UFC future. It seemed like every time he stepped into the cage, he threw his game plan out the window. That is exactly why people love Michael Chandler. A man does not lose even when he loses because he brings what everyone wants to see. His defeats did not hinder his activity, and Ray Longo was right when he said, "If anybody can handle the loss, it's Chandler, and he will be back." Consequently, Michael returned and took on the indestructible Tony Ferguson in the most spectacular and incredible fashion.
The kick?
Got front kick right to the jaw. There's a photo of Chandler's foot connected on Tony's face.
It's like a fucking Dali painting.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild to look at like what happens to someone's face when a foot impacts their fucking jaw.
Michael became the first man to separate Tony Ferguson from consciousness, taking another bonus and screaming into the microphone once again. A year after derailing McGregor into the chasm of defeat, Dustin Poirier clashed with Conor's future dance partner, Michael Chandler, in another Fight of the Night special. One more war was inscribed in the UFC books, going back and forth, keeping the audience on their feet until the end. Unfortunately for Michael, he got submitted in the 3rd round even though he was 1 step away from victory. But as we have seen before, losses don't define him. And Michael Chandler got battle-tested like none other in the UFC in just 2 years. 5 fights deep in the UFC, and Chandler already fought 5 killers in the lightweight division. Now, he and Conor have 3 things in common. Both are 2-3 in their last 5 fights. Both lost to Dustin Poirier. And most importantly, even when they lose, they do magnificently. The UFC stardom cannot be disputed, nor their fighting ability. When was the last time we saw 2 fighters coming back from defeat and making this kind of noise about their fight? The guys can't string 2 wins in a row, but they still have the power to break all pay-per-view records. Everything about Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor is promising us a fiery matchup.
I'm here to give back to the game, give back to the sport. Chandler is the opposition coach, and we're set to fight.
I think I'm a scary.
Be careful what you wish for, right?